breaking a mirror, crossing paths with a black cat, walking under a ladder. I could go on, but what I find more interesting than these individual superstitions is what we consider to be bad luck. My story begins in fall of 2014. I started getting really tired during basketball practice, and my left foot felt a little weird, kind of like it was falling asleep, but permanently. There's a prevailing attitude in sports culture that's no pain, no gain. So I essentially just sucked it up for about half a season without really complaining about it or trying to figure out what was going on. So around December, the symptoms started to get worse. I started losing my appetite, diarrhea, vomit, and once I was admitted into the hospital, I started racking up a couple more symptoms. Like the lack of appetite turned into an inability to eat. I actually went about 7 days without eating. My toe started getting black and blue and purple and all sorts of colors that toes shouldn't be. So eventually I got a kidney biopsy, which revealed that I was being afflicted with MPA Vasculitis, which is an autoimmune disease that affects the small blood vessels. Blood vessels in your hands, your feet, and what makes it deadly is the blood vessels in your kidneys. You might expect someone in this position to be scared, but I was actually pretty relieved because I realized that my work ethic wasn't to blame, my body was. So since MPA vasculitis is an autoimmune disease, the best treatment for it is immunosuppressants and steroids. So after about over a month of missing school, I came back mostly okay. Getting around was still pretty difficult, but I was improving pretty rapidly until the hip pain kept getting worse, and halfway through basketball season, I got an MRI, which revealed that I was being afflicted with avascular necrosis, or AVN, which is essentially when your bone begins to die because it's not getting enough blood. The doctors at Scottish Rite thought that a core decompression would help increase blood flow to the area. A core decompression is essentially when surgeons drill several holes into your hip. It was more of a long shot effort to try to avoid a hip replacement because at this point I was in pretty rough shape. I had to get around everywhere on crutches, getting up the stairs, getting out of a car, even moving my leg was pretty painful. When we were looking at the x-rays, we were hoping that it would miraculously have gotten better, but the only difference was 12 white streaks where my hip was supposed to be. That was when it was apparent that I was going to need a total hip replacement before the age of 18. So sitting in the hospital bed, I realized that the reason I was alive was because scientists before me have discovered things about the natural world that helped me. After the advent of rituximab and prednisone, people like me will have one more way to live active and productive lives. The thought that I could be a contributor to such a noble and permanent cause has given me a sense of purpose that nothing else has. Through this illness, I was actually able to meet Dr. Gadanini, who is my physician. And she was an MD PhD doing research and being a physician at the same time. And I was able to become an intern in her lab, being in the lab every day and making discoveries, even if they were minor discoveries, just adding to the breadth of human knowledge and the concept of being able to do this for a living. It never occurred to me before, and it was immensely exciting. So recently I was able to get into the Dean Scholars Program at UT, which is essentially an honors program that's specifically made for researchers. So I'll be able to continue to pursue my passions through that program, which is really cool. So the way I took advantage of the downtime I had, out of school and recovering, I got to watch all sorts of Netflix with my mom, which was really nice because, I've been studying a lot and not really getting a lot of quality time with my mom, and that was really cool. And watching Game of Thrones with my family also. There are only really 2 sports you can do with a hip replacement, cycling and swimming. And I had done swimming in elementary school, so I thought that it might be a good hobby to pick back up. I didn't get any first place medals at meets or anything, but I was able to win a couple heats, and it taught me how to, instead of enjoying sports for being successful, to enjoy sports for the sake of self-improvement. I don't want to make it sound like this whole process was painless. Not being able to eat for a week was very painful. Having to quit basketball and not be able to see my friends every day was also hard to handle. Weight gain, almost too much weight gain in this case. Those were all things I had to overcome, but in the end, I feel like I've become a stronger person, someone who's able to take adversity in stride. So was acquiring an autoimmune disease and a hip replacement bad luck? Perhaps it's too early to say. Regardless, having the ability to find silver linings will always be useful, bad luck or not.